So for homework this weekend, I want you to solve a little problem, and you're going to need to go to stuffin.space. Stuffin.space. It's a great website, and it shows all of the satellites and rockets and debris pieces that are orbiting the Earth. If you go here to the help session or the help section, you can see the satellite. The legend shows that the red dots are satellites and blue are rocket bodies, and the grays are debris pieces. And we can zoom in, for example, and look close to the Earth. It's kind of cool to see this. And if you scroll around the orb, you can see these things are floating. They are in space, and so they are at least 100 kilometers above the atmosphere, and more like 400 probably is more like it. The lowest ones are probably more like 400 kilometers. That's where the International Space Station is orbiting at about 418 or so, 420 kilometers, typically over 400. Also, I want to point out that this is a real-time image of the Earth, what it would appear like at, let's see here, 6:43 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can start to see here that the eastern half of the United States is starting to turn on its lights, and that the western half is still in daylight. All right, so that's kind of nifty to see where the limb of the sun, where that line that demarks daylight and nighttime exists. That's kind of cool. But what we're really looking for here is a study on gravity, and we're looking for a study on orbital motion, for example. So let's see here. I'm looking for a little. There's a line of satellites that looks like it's not there by accident, right? So if we click on one of these little guys, that's a Starlink 1260, Starlink 1274. Obviously, these are all part of the same kind of satellite orbit. And if we click on one of them, we can see what their altitude is. So that particular satellite has an altitude of 385 or so kilometers. It has a certain velocity, and it has a period, like we see here, of 92.15 minutes. Okay, so we've studied that, and what I want to do today is I want to study this structure way out here. Now, each of these is a satellite. Each of these dots are satellites, right? And if we come way out, we can see for sure, we can see there's an obvious ring of satellites there. And my question is, why? Why are they out there? What do they do? Who put them up there? And why are there so many of them? I should also point out the fact that to launch a satellite into space is an expensive endeavor. Just to put an object into space and have it come back down to Earth again is about $1 million. To put a satellite into space at low orbit is about $10 million. And to put these way out here, deeper, farther away, much farther away into space is a lot more money. So I don't know exactly how much these guys cost, but it's well over $10 million. And there are a lot of them. Hundreds, if not thousands of them way out here in this orbit. Okay, so here's my question. My question again is, why are they out there? What do they do? And maybe you can guess as to what the nature of the companies that put them into space are. So let me just point out that what I want you to do is I want you to click on an orbit, not one like this, okay, not one that's got a highly elliptical, that has a small apogee, a small perigee and a big apogee. I want one that is circular, something like that, okay. And we can zoom out and rotate just to make sure, and that the Earth is centered upon that orbit, and we look over here and we see it's about 35,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. This is not the orbital radius, right? This is the altitude above the surface. Okay, so do that. Do a little calculation. I'll give you a hint. I would recommend that you calculate, say, the period of that satellite. Okay, calculate that period, and then try to determine what the nature of that guy is. That's all the clues I'm going to give you. I want you to think about it a little bit. And when you find the period, find it to the nearest hour, okay, or half hour or something like that, and see if that number doesn't jog something in your brain, and then wonder why do they park the satellites at a very particular place in space that gives you that period. Okay, I think from that you might be able to come up with some ideas. Really think about it. Really think about what that period tells you. Okay, and that's it. Have fun.